As I'm clearly typing on my laptop and not bashing random keys, I just want to let you know that I have finished a manuscript in this completely not staged moment. So what do I do now? Hello, I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Today, I'm discussing the first steps to take after completing a manuscript, and unfortunately my neighbors are doing some construction, so I do apologize if there's hammering or worse in the background. In running terms, finishing your first manuscript is a lot like finishing your first marathon. It is a major achievement to be sure, and now you're standing on one summit while gazing at the next challenge to climb, that being completing your next marathon, only faster and more efficiently. In writing, finishing your manuscript is a magnificent accomplishment requiring immense dedication and persistent hard work. And yet, it's only the first step in getting published. Arguably, all of that hard work amounted to the first third in the journey to publishing your manuscript. These are the 5 steps consisting of the middle third of that journey, where you are revising your manuscript in preparation for the publishing process. Number 1, shelve it. Take a break from your manuscript for about a week. You could outline your next project or write a short story. You probably shouldn't pause from writing altogether so that you keep your skills sharp while still distancing yourself from that recently completed manuscript. Relax and plan accordingly so you can devote the next month or so to revising that first draft once you get back to it. This might be a good time to review your other works and perform. Number 2, self-reflection and review. Identify your crutches. The key to self-improvement is understanding what aspects need the most work. My greatest weaknesses as a runner are running while injured or overestimating my abilities. Also, I am a terrible runner when the temperatures get to 70 or above. So long as the temperature is cool, I am decent at maintaining the same consistent speed across the long run, and I'm also okay at running hills. I know where I need to focus, so when I'm working to improve, I'll add in speed intervals to my long runs. This pushes me and acclimates my mind and body to these faster paces. For writing, one of my weaknesses is that my dialogue can feel forced or not right for the characters. To improve my writing skills, I explicitly design and create more scenes with critical dialogue and practice making them sound natural. Now that I understand my limits and have waited at least a week to distance myself from my manuscript, I open it up to objectively revise it across several drafts. Number 3, critique partners and beta readers. Having taken the manuscript as far as I can on my own skills, I now reach out to others for their feedback. I have a couple of videos devoted to finding volunteers, which I will link to and include in the description below, so be sure to check them out. Overall, I would recommend aiming for 5 or so critique partners and 20 or so beta readers. Assuming you're not pressed for time, they don't need to be reviewing simultaneously. You could do multiple rounds or set up a 1-week delay between groups. This way you can see if issues identified first get resolved by your changes and are noticed or identified in later groups. There is a big trade-off in terms of numbers, and 20 people to review your work may be a bit too much of a stretch. However, I strongly recommend aiming for those numbers because they can help normalize outliers. I've had people absolutely love specific scenes and others hate them for the same exact reasons. Without a large enough body of reviewers, I may have made the wrong call in terms of how to improve or even address those issues. Compiling feedback from so many people provides valuable information in terms of how to address any issues identified within your manuscript. Managing that feedback, though, particularly when opinions differ, becomes exponentially more difficult. It is absolutely a required step, though, because these are the opinions of potentially the audience of your future novel. So you want to make sure that there's no reason to give them a DNF or did not finish. Number 4, professional editors. While critique partners and beta readers are a mandatory step, professional editors can make or break a story. Their skills are refined to guide writers into improving their story, either structurally or syntactically. Assuming you find the right editors, they can do this in a much more focused and beneficial manner than, say, your average volunteer, critique partners, or beta readers. The flow should be developmental edits, line edits, copy edits, and lastly, proofreaders. Developmental editors focus on the overall story and writer's craft. Their goal is to make sure that the plot is sound and that the pace isn't erratic, among other tasks. Line editors overall ensure that the writing style is consistent and that the storytelling mechanics flow well. Copy editors check for spelling and grammar, and proofreaders look for typos and formatting issues, though good ones will also check the spelling and grammar. There is a lot of overlap between the different types of editors, as well as a large range in terms of the depth of their services, so be sure to check their offerings before hiring anyone. Since today's episode is short and sweet, I glossed over a lot of gritty details about editors. I'm going to expand on them in a future video as they require a much longer run of information. And lastly, number 5, rinse and repeat. Read through your story at least one more time. At this point, you will have read your manuscript enough times that the words on the page feel like meaningless scribbles. That is imperative to objectively finding issues, so be sure to read every word. This final step verifies that all the previous rounds of editing changes were in fact made, or willingly rejected, and that no new issues were introduced by doing so. I would suggest getting another round of beta readers, though with the numerous editors who review the manuscript, it is technically ready for the publishing process, and I'm ready for a break. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write. Aside from reaching for a glass of your favorite beverage, what are your first must-do steps after finishing your manuscripts? Do you agree with my opinions, or is everything I said wrong? Let me know in those comments. If you enjoyed today's content and want to support what I do here, then please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I post my writing and running thoughts on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, so be sure to follow along and join in with your own comments, preferably if they include funny dog photos. See you next time. Until then, polish your manuscripts and get them ready to be published.